Deltarune. Deltarune is the second Toby Fox game ever. Now, if you don't know about Deltarune, I'd recommend you play the game, because this contains spoilers for the first 2 chapters. But, if you don't really care, I'll give you a quick rundown of the game. Now this game starts with a prophecy, and this prophecy is that the world would be covered in darkness, and that the 3 heroes would save the day. Now, we go to the player. Now the player plays as a teenager named Chris, and there's the monster Susie, who's the secondary character. These are the 2 main characters of the game. Then, you run into Rousey, the supposed Prince of the Darkners. Now Darkners are modern day objects that you might find. In the first chapter, it was all card game themed, so each enemy was based off of a card. Like the main antagonist, the king, was based off of the king card, you know? Anyways. And Darkners are able to come to life because of a dark fountain. And the dark fountain has the ability to make a dark world, where every object can come to life. Now that you know this concept, we can talk about the best character, Spamton G. Spamton. This character is met with in Chapter 2. And another recap of Chapter 2. We get sucked into another dark world, this one being internet themed. And the chapter's antagonist, Queen, is trying to recruit Noelle. You gotta remember Noelle, because she's very important later. Anyways, after this, we get in a temporary truce with the Queen, and get into a car with her. Eventually, cars pile up, and Queen tells us to go press a button. As we try, we come across a trash can, and, well, you can just see what happens. This is Spamton G. Spamton. He's already really strange. A tiny little guy whose speech is constantly broken up with what seems like ads. Now, as I said before, Darkners, like him, are objects in the light world. He is the representation of spam mail. He is a washed up salesman, and it seems like he talks about being a big shot. Now this is a constant theme with his character, and being a big shot is his main goal. Now, after we encounter him, and we fight him, he invites us to his shop. But he only invites us, Chris. Not Rousey, not Susie, just Chris. And when we go to the trash area and find his shop, Chris is the only one allowed to enter. Not Rousey, not Susie, only Chris. So he already has an eerie connection with Chris. And it's just us in this shop. Us and Spamton. Now the parallels to Spamton's shop and other shops is that the other shops in Chapter 2 have a constant music. It's the same music. However, Spamton has his unique shop soundtrack. This soundtrack is called Dial Tone. has amazing similarities to another song from Chapter 1. This is the Chapter 1's secret boss, Jevil's prison theme. Now, Jevil is a character that sees freedom in a strange way. He sees himself being locked inside of the cage as him being free and everyone else not. Now, Spamton also talks about freedom. That is one similarity these two characters have, along with their themes being similar. Anyways, Spamton has a special task for us. This is to go into the Queen's basement using an item he sells us, which is the key gen. Then we go into this basement, and this is an eerie area, almost abandoned, all roots everywhere, an eerie soundtrack called Digital Roots just playing, and we keep going through these endless corridors till we find this train track area. We go into a room with different sections, and at the very end of that room, in one section, there's a robot. When you inspect it, there's a disc in it. And so afterwards, we bring that disc back to Spamton. And he's ecstatic about it. He is telling us to give it to him. And then afterwards, he says, we need to go back and put it right back where we found it. And when we do, nothing happens. We don't know what happened. So we just walk out that room. When suddenly, Boom! Spamton is back. He talks about the new body until he notices strings. He thought that if he got bigger, if he was a big shot, he would be free. But no. However, he realizes he needs Chris's soul, and that Chris needs to get big. So, we battle. We won't have to fight alone, because Susie and Rousey join us. We are now facing Spamton Neo. With this, we also get the ability to shoot bullets out of our soul. As Spamton would say, we did a big shot. Anyways, after that we begin fighting. Spamton Neo is a secret boss of the chapter 2, and he is hard. His battle implements the shooting mechanics as I previously stated. However, Spamton Neo's fighting theme is not only a banger, but also has very cool parts in it. Now, Spamton is referred to as a Shadow Crystal boss, similar to Jevil, because once you defeat one of them, you get a Shadow Crystal. Each Shadow Crystal boss has the freedom motif in their songs, because each boss has their own thoughts on freedom. In Jevil's case, he thinks that being in prison is his way of being free, and that everyone else is not free. And in Spamton's case, he thinks that getting big and being a big shot will break his strings, and he won't have to be a puppet anymore. However, Spamton's song also has vocals in it, unlike most other songs. And most of the time, it's just the word big shot or wow in email. But in the freedom motif section of his song, if you listen hard enough, you can hear something else. Spamton is asking for help. He's yelling for help. But it's being muffled by some outer source, which is represented as in his song. His words of crying for help is being muffled by the song. Just like how he is being muffled by the puppeteer that's controlling him. Now eventually, you snap all of Spamton's wires. And you get him to one wire left. He realizes, wait a second, they're helping me. And he allows you to cut that wire. But, once you do, things don't end well. Turns out Spamton couldn't be more than just a puppet, and he realizes that now. Now that you cut his strings, he can't walk, talk, anything. And he sees potential in you. That's why one of his only pieces of dialogue without any of his bracket texts is him saying that he will be your strength, and that maybe with his help, you can cut your strings too. Now, after this, all three of the party members walk out of the room. They walk out, and Susie stops and says, we have to talk about this. The puppets, the strings, the hands, all that stuff. And Rousey kinda dismisses it, but then once you ask Chris, which Chris barely talks, But here is one of the only times he actually talks without the controller of the player. The player is not controlling him. Sorry. He screams no. He yells no. Why is this? Why is Chris having a mental breakdown? It's because he is also a puppet. Chris is a puppet to the player. We control Chris. We make him shut up. We muffle him just like Spamton was muffled. And guess what? When Chris throws our soul out, he wobbles around. He can't be without the soul for too long. 'Cause he needs us. Just like Spamton needed his strings. So when Chris sees that Spamton without his strings couldn't live, he gets scared. He realizes that without the player and without the thing that he hates, just like how Spamton hated his strings, without them, he's nothing more. That's why Chris breaks down. But let's go back to Spamton. Spamton? What is Spamton? He's a puppet. He has puppet-like features, and of course he's controlled by strings. But he wasn't always like this. He used to be the biggest, as said in his dialogue. In 1997, he was on top of the world, selling stuff and all that things. He used to be an Addison. There's these guys around Chapter 2 where you can buy stuff from, called Addisons. These represent ads. And Spamton was one. And he was so successful, he even moved into the Queen's mansion. How did he get successful, you might ask? Phones. Now Spamton has two main things that make him his character. One is the desire to be a big shot. The second one is his connections to phones. In his shop, there's a phone in the corner with highlight on it. It's just there. Why would it be there? Later on, after you beat Spamton Neo and go back to his shop, you can see the Addisons all lined up there. They talk about how Spamton would get advice to being the biggest based off of a phone. Someone would tell him things on that phone. However, once the phone stopped ringing, Spamton had nothing. He couldn't do anything. He needed help. He became reliant on the phone. And once he was kicked out of Queen's Mansion, one of the Addisons go up to the phone and they find out it's just garbage noise. They don't understand. Why would Spamton do this? Why would Spamton be so reliant on the phone? Who knows? Some think it's Gaster, some think it's Friend. Honestly, it's still a mystery. Let's get into another route that Spamton has complete control over. Snowgrave, or now known as the Weird Route. In this route, you take Noelle and you force her to freeze things. You force her to freeze everyone. And kill people, basically. Just to get stronger. Not even Chris, the player, forces Noelle, abuses Noelle, scares Noelle into killing people. To the point that Noelle can't even understand what is real and what's not. Like with Birdly. She didn't know that was Birdly for a minute. She just thought that was another enemy that she needed to get stronger with. But she still got him. Spamton's main role in the Weird Route of Chapter 2 is to enable the player. He sells the player the Thorn Ring. This ring makes Noelle so powerful, but also hurts Noelle. And it keeps on going. And he uses this for his advantage. Once Noelle frees most of the citizens and no one else is there, Spamton takes over Queen's Mansion. He's the biggest now, because everyone else froze. But then when you try to freeze his fountain, no, Spamton's not having it. He stops you. Now this is a fight where just Chris versus Spamton. No Susie, no Rouse, no Noelle, just Chris. Chris fights him and almost beats him. Then Spamton activates Neo, which is famous for its high defense. No matter what you did, you couldn't get him. You couldn't attack him, it wouldn't do anything to him. You'd be stuck there. But as you call out for your friends and no one answers, you whisper Noelle's name. The girl you used. And Spamton makes fun of you for it, saying you're still trying to use her. But then, boom. Frozen. Even Spamton couldn't do it. But I really like Spamton. Why? Because he represents Chris in the player. When Chris is controlled by the player and is forced to do something bad, like Snowgrave or a weird route, Spamton does equally bad things. He enables the player. He allows them to freeze people by giving them the ring. But when Chris and the player are doing something nice, he becomes your ally and allows you to snip his things. It doesn't work for him. No matter what, he can't escape the strings. Just like Chris. No matter what, he can't escape the soul. Spamton is such a good character because he represents what it's like to be controlled, what it's like to become reliant to the point if you don't have something, you're gone. You can't do anything. And finally, he represents what Chris feels. Now, Spamton is probably my favorite character. He is so human. He suffered a great fall, and a lot of people would do the same thing that he did. Once he fell down, lost his phone, lost his big shot status, he fell into the dumpster, into a depression, trying to exploit anything. And guess what? People would do that too. What makes Spamton so likable is not only his representation of Chris's feelings, but also the representation of what'll happen in real life if you become too reliant on something. Spamton G. Spamton, the email guy. Being a puppet no matter what, used and tossed aside. Couldn't make it big. Couldn't be a big shot. But he sees that Chris is being controlled by something just like how he was. So he gives him strength. Hopefully that strength allows Chris to beat the player in whatever chapter he does, because honestly I don't know if Chris is ever gonna get a good ending. Who knows, he might just be like Spamton. Couldn't get a good ending anyway. Anyways, that is the end of the video. This is probably the longest one I've ever made. And honestly, I enjoy making this. It was fun. If you liked me yapping about Spamton, a character I love, and want me to do more things for like this, like a video essay, or over-analyzing a character, if you want me to do that, I'd be down. So please, type in the comments or like to show that you want more. And thank you for watching all the way to the end. I know it's pretty long. Thank you.